What's up, guys? I have Samson, Nikki, and Matt here. They're all directors at Marketing 360, have tons of experience when it comes to digital marketing and just working with small businesses to help them grow every day. And what I wanted to talk about today was just the whole thought process around how much time do you give marketing, because that's something we hear all the time, like how much time should you give it? How much budget should you give it? How much effort should you give it? You know, and so we hear that a lot, and we've seen a lot of case studies over the years, and with our own real life experience, we've lived it. And so I wanted to pull these individuals on to kind of talk about that. So Samson, maybe you want to tee us off. What if you were talking to a small business and they asked you that question, hey, how long should I give digital marketing? What would you say?
My first answer to that is it really depends. I mean, if you had the magic recipe from day one, there would be no need for businesses like us. There's a certain strategy or an equation that you need to follow to kind of get the system cranking. And then as you go, you learn more information, you can optimize and systematize. That process can take 6 months, right? And then at 6 months, you start to, reimagine or reinvent what you're doing and make it better. And, what you're doing a year from now might be totally different than what you were doing last year. So 6 months is, reasonable, but it really kicks off when everything kind of comes together,
Absolutely.
And I'd love to add to that a little bit, just the fact that every business starts out at a different spot, right? Like if you've got a business that's got 200 employees and have already done marketing in the past, you've got a solid foundation to build off of. With startup businesses, a lot of times, like they're starting, with no marketing, no background in marketing, and really just kind of starting that guerrilla marketing and to build the brand name and the brand reputation is such an important foundational piece that it can take a little longer to build the site and to do the things that really need to get the business like taken off and on its way to actually being profitable.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to think about it, because it's a lot like building a house. You're going to build a custom home. Essentially, you're starting with just a plot of dirt. And the very first thing you have to do is dig a really big hole and then put a bunch of concrete in it. And you still can't live in the house. That doesn't mean that you're not making progress on building the house, but it's pretty necessary if you ever want to have a house that you lay the foundation.
Right. And I think that's actually a great example these days, especially because of multi-channel marketing and so many different facets when it comes to digital marketing and building your business, that you can't really do it all at once. Like you have to start in phases of like your CRM database, and then your automations for email, and like you just keep layering it in. But Matt, actually, you bring up a good point. Right now there's so many new businesses starting. This is probably a great question to think about. Hey, if I was going to start a new business today, how much budget, how much time should I give that business to have a real shot at success? Samson kind of said 6 months, and I would tend to agree with that. Like if you're just going to give it a shot for 1 month and you have budget for 1 month, you might as well save that money and go on a staycation, because we can't travel anywhere, right? But you need to really think about having enough budget to give this thing an opportunity to succeed. Nikki, you've worked with a lot of customers over the years and a lot of new businesses. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. Just to piggyback on what you all said, a lot of what you're doing in the first few months of digital marketing is just getting everything ready to be able to have traffic driven to it. So, you're not really going to be growing your customer base whenever we're just preparing, your CRM, and we're preparing your website and your social media channels. You need to start with some baseline content and have a strategy for all of that. So, honestly, I think a year, if you're working with a company that's not pivoting and things aren't working 3 to 6 months in, that's a problem. You definitely want to work with a company that's willing to pivot and adjust their strategy, to meet whatever your goals are. But at the same time, we can't really measure seasonality and a lot of other things without seasons that we've marketed through. So it's really important to give it, I would think, honestly, at least a year, provided you feel like you're getting great customer service and you're on the same page and you're working with a team that's, consistently updating the strategy to meet your needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree with that too. Like I always say, if you're going to do anything and give it a real opportunity to succeed, give it 3 years.
Yeah.
If you really want to be successful, give something 3 years. Because if you're going to give up inside of that, you didn't give it enough time. And so marketing is something that never ends, right? So the real answer to all this is it never ends. You need to give it time forever, but how do you really know if it's working? And I think, there's a lot of good ideas here. Give it at least 6 months, test it, tweak it, pivot. But ultimately keep pivoting. And actually, if you have a passion for your business, give it at least 3 years, I think is a reasonable timeline. What are some other thoughts on budget? You know, when a lot of small businesses are asking us about budget, not just time and how long it'll take, but how much should I put into it? What are some thoughts on that front?
I've just always thought about budget as how quickly can we capture data, right? So it's like an exercise program, right? Like if you're just going to do some of the workout and you're going to do it on some days and you're going to do some of the nutrition plan, then you're going to get some of the results. So there's a certain like a minimum amount that you have to spend to have it be effective. And so if you're not willing to even spend that, it's going to be really challenging for you to get results, and you'll end up really frustrated. Kind of back to what we were talking about before. You could give it 6 months and a year. You could follow this great workout program, but if you did 20% of it, a year from now, you're going to be pretty upset that you didn't get the results, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's a fine balance of like leveraging dollars to get data in order to get feedback so that you can tweak it and optimize it and make it better. So you have to do all the stuff. So it's hard to say. It can be relative to what Matt was saying about where you're starting from, what type of industry you're in, how competitive it is, the location that you're at, what your current market reach looks like. And all those things ultimately go into putting together a good, effective budget.
Absolutely.
I agree, Samson. And just to add to that, a lot of people kind of go at budget backwards, where they say, this is my budget, and then here are my goals, when really it needs to be, what are your goals? And then we'll build the budget around your goals. So I would just say, whenever you're going to work with a marketing software company or agency, kind of look at what you're going to, make your goals as, just realize like that might not align with what budget that you have. So you just need to work with somebody that's really good about, really understanding what you're trying to achieve, and then feasibly, can you afford to hit those goals? And if not, what are some milestones that we're okay with along the way?
Yep. You can adjust your budget down, but that means you need to change your expectation to accommodate that.
Absolutely. Matt, what would be your recommendation based on goals for budget? Is there a certain percentage, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, and it depends a lot of times what phase of the business and just like the how much time it takes to really ramp up. I like to usually see about 10 to 15% investment in as far as your future revenue and what you want to earn from that. But like if you're a newer business, again, like the expectation is that you're going to have to invest some dollars up front to do some of that foundational work. Things like doing SEO, doing things like content building and asset building. Those are all things that need to be done beforehand that are going to really help you use those dollars more efficiently when you actually get to the marketing. So expect that those first few months, especially, that you're investing, like Samson was saying, in the data coming back so that you can optimize those campaigns and you can get some information back that helps you to be more profitable. So, but like long term, really what we're looking for is that kind of 10 to 15% mark. And then eventually I've seen lots of businesses that have gotten down to 8%, their total revenue invested in marketing, 7%, if the campaigns are really optimized and you've had some real time under your belt. But that's usually where I like to budget people, at least in the initial consultation.
That makes sense. So if my goal was, say, $250,000 this year, 10% of that's 25,000. So I'd divide that by 12, and that's, estimated $2,500 basically monthly budget. Is that the right math?
Yeah, and that would sound right. And like your average, client that's, a newer business or a smaller business is going to I think there's good ranges between kind of a $3,000 and $5,000 a month mark. If you can get to that point, there's always earlier and lower starting points, but most businesses are at least trying to kind of hit that $250,000 mark, and want to get there in their first year or two. And so, I actually think that's a great example of just a good, healthy budget when you're coming in here.
The only caveat would be, sometimes just the industry demands a bigger budget. And
Sure.
So sometimes, you just have to make sure that, your revenue goal you say you want to make 50, and that's cool, but, average cost per click is $100 and you have zero SEO and it's incredibly competitive and that's how people search for it. We're going to have to just push out our expectation and make some adjustments to accommodate that, which is fine. Like you said, JB, it's really an investment. And people don't think about the money that they're putting into it because it's often very ethereal and intangible. I can't touch it. You're doing all this content creation and I'm not really seeing anything. So I think we need to think about it too, is in terms of every dollar you put in, you aren't immediately going to see the dollar out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a misconception too, right? Well, I put $25,000 in and I didn't get $25,000 back. When you find that machine, just give me a holler because I want that machine. But that $25,000 that you invested is not for nothing, because now you're building upon that foundation that you laid in. And next year when you invest $25,000, it's going to be that much more effective. And like you said, over that 3-year period, you're going to see those dollars come back. But if you don't put enough in on the front end and actually give it enough time to see it all the way through, you're never going to get that. It truly will be wasted dollars.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point, that you need to think longer term, because if you put $2,500 in or $25,000 into marketing, depending on your sales cycle and how long it takes people to see that messaging before they ever reach out, and then you finally talk to them, and that's a 6-week sales cycle. The sales for that $25,000 might happen way out here. And so you might actually cancel marketing right before you actually start to strike gold. And that's why you need to let that pipeline actually fill up and run for quite a while before it starts to drip. And then you could theoretically see for every dollar you put in, you get X amount of dollars in sales, but it's not real time, right? Those sales are coming from dollars that came way back here. So that's a good point.
Well, not to mention lifetime value. Like, you have one customer is maybe not going to pay for the cost that lead was, but then over time when they are a repeat customer, then they will, which is why it is really important to have a strategy that's retention based. So that's something else to consider.
That's a good point. And you said it earlier, Jay, which is, it never stops, right? So just because you got the 6-pack abs doesn't mean you can go sit on the couch and start drinking beer and eating pizza every day and expect to keep.
I got there.
Expect you can.
I was hoping for that.
You can't keep it, right? Like, it's now it gets easier, right? It's not as hard for you to maintain that 6-pack, but the work that you did from maybe being really out of shape to getting in really good shape, man, that took a really long time. And now the flywheel concept is getting easier and easier and easier for you to do it and maintain it.
And you got to think, whenever you're advertising and you're building that, nobody's seen your brand name yet. And so, or you're what you're trying to accomplish is to get your brand name better known, more trusted. And that's such an important aspect of that. Like, people are going to need to see your brand name over and over and over again for that to really have the effect of building that trust. So it just takes time. And it's so important to allow yourself to know that those sales, that like the work that you're putting in now may affect you 3-4 months down the road. It's kind of like doing SEO work. It takes time. It takes time for Google to crawl the site and for you to start improving in those rankings. And so the work you're doing now really does have that long-term benefit. And the one of the biggest keys is to just not get short-sighted.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Well, we're running low on time, but I did want to talk about one extra phase we haven't necessarily touched on, which is you have to have budget, like, promoting and paid advertising and those pieces, but you also need at the beginning to budget, right? Take some effort, right? To budget this thing forward. So what about that piece? It comes down to effort, and you can do a lot of things to get sales purely with effort. It's sending emails, it's creating social content, it's engaging with the community, it's doing outreach. But business owners only have so much time. So what are your options and thought processes there with a new business starting? And how do you think about maybe investing some budget and some talent, and also having some people devote to that to see a good return? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, my initial thoughts are there's no way that you can run a business effectively, especially when you're getting it off the ground, and also have it be your own entire marketing team. That's just an insane expectation to set for yourself. You would never sleep. And even if you could somehow manage it all, you would have a really hard time being effective, because you can't be an expert at both whatever your trade is or what your business focus is, and then also marketing. So I would say if you don't have a consultant or someone that you're working with, hiring, the company like ours, or anyone in your area that you feel really comfortable with that has a proven track record, is just kind of a no-brainer, especially if they can do many services under kind of one umbrella and make it really simple for you, because there's just way too much in 2020 to try to accomplish it all on your own with everything from social media. I mean, even social media, it's considered one bucket, but there's thousands of things you can do within that are important. So you can't even categorize that as one thing anymore, in my opinion. So I would say, you have to have the talent behind it if you really want to get somewhere quickly.
Yeah, I would say that don't confuse motion and progress. It's really easy to think like, look, I got social and I'm doing this and that, but is it effective, right?
Right.
I could also get up there and re-roof my house. Probably shouldn't. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? That's always the option, right? And so, time, cost, and quality, you can have two of those things, but you can't have three, also known as good, cheap, or fast, right? And so you just kind of have to weigh that out and say, is the juice worth the squeeze? Yes, I could do it, but can I do it as effectively as this person can, right?
And
And
it
then,
has to get done.
right, you can't not do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Can't be skipped. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those are great tips. And I think, in closing here, first off, thanks for all the comments. Great ideas, great insights. This is super helpful information, I think, for everybody. I even took away some nuggets from this that got me pretty jacked. But small business owners, you need the tools and the talent, right? So if you're looking for the tools, try Marketing 360. It has everything you need in one login. But at minimum, you need the tools. Kind of like Matt said, it can't be skipped. You're going to have the tools. You're going to have the talent. If you need to roll up your sleeves and just start chopping wood every day and do it on your own, 100% behind you, use the tools, use the platform. It's really going to help you be more efficient. But as soon as you get some success, as Nikki recommended there, bring somebody in that's talented at what they do when it comes to digital marketing. That's really going to take you to the next level. And hopefully you have enough budget and sales to give it that 6 month and then that year and then that 3 year window to drive ultimate success. So hopefully these tips were helpful. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate everything, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
No
Thank
problem.
Absolutely. Peace. Happy marketing.